Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PWR Today. My name is Andrew Baydala. I am joined today live from the start of the show with Damian Nelson. Damian, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you here?
I'm good. It's a Wednesday morning. We got NXT and AEW Dynamite live tonight. I'm excited for that. How are you?
I'm good. I'm told it's hump day. I still don't know what that means, though, when people say it. I know there was that Geico commercial, but it seems like there's another meaning.
Yeah, I mean, it's people call it the middle of the week, but there's
Technically, it depends on what week you use as to whether or not it's the middle of the week.
Right.
If you're Monday through Sunday, it's not. If you're Sunday through Saturday, maybe it is.
Yes, very true.
Now your mind is blown.
Yeah, I haven't had my coffee yet, so my mind is always blown this early in the morning. All right, Damian, so let's get right into it. Vince McMahon was sued by his former XFL commissioner, Oliver Luck. Former XFL commissioner Oliver Luck was sued by Vince McMahon for wrongful termination following the XFL filing for bankruptcy. As reported by TMZ, specific details are retracted in the lawsuit, but Luck claims that the claims against him, which are being used as the reason for his termination, are not true. It is unknown exactly how much money Luck is looking for, but he wants a guaranteed portion of his contract to be paid off. Damian, I'll let you start with this. What do you think of this?
I think this XFL situation is going to turn into something very ugly for WWE. Everyone's good friend Dave Meltzer reported today that there's a lot of unknown information that may soon come out about the demise of the league in the days prior to the demise of the league. And everyone sort of brushed it off as COVID-19, right? Makes sense. They can't continue. They can't sustain. We talked about it on PWR. But you remember in the bankruptcy filing, several coaches and several stadiums were announced or were indicated as debtors. And this commissioner was not. And it's a stretch, from what I understand, for him to try to sue McMahon directly, because McMahon was not the person the original contract was with, but obviously McMahon, the leader of Alpha Entertainment, the entity that ran XFL. I think it's going to get ugly. I think it's going to get ugly real quick here. And the fact that you got to imagine, if this truly was a COVID-19 situation, that everybody involved, including the commissioner of the league, would not be taking adverse actions against the owner of the league if everything was on the up and up.
Yeah, Damian, it's a fantastic point. I mean, Oliver Luck obviously has a case here. I was texted a dollar amount by one of my guys who is pretty high up in the football world, and it's a lot of money. It's between 20 and 25 million that he's owed. I would hate to be deposing Mr. Jerry McDivitt and Mr. Vince McMahon in any sort of lawsuit, because normally Mr. McMahon and Mr. McDivitt come out on that on top. But I think Oliver Luck's got a case here. I think he was promised some money, and I think it's owed to him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think they're probably going to settle for an undisclosed amount and get this out of the news and out of the courts as fast as humanly possible.
And I'll say one thing, Drew, that is true in addition to that is we all know the wrestling business is dirty. Things are never on the up and up, and WWE has struggled with being a corporate entity, and Vince McMahon is old school wrestling, right? So this could end in a very interesting way.
Yeah, there's no such thing as coincidence, both in business and in life. And the WWE stock was through the roof, and now all of a sudden it's taken a little bit of a dip. So be it that as you may, I think that there's a correlation there. But Rob Gronkowski, sticking with football, talks about WWE and a possible return to football. During an appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, Gronk was asked about his playing days being over and if he'd entertain a reunion with Tom Brady in Tampa. Gronk talked about his current health and said he did retire last year, but he's not totally ruling out a return to the field. He said, what's great? The day I retired, within 24 hours, there were already rumors that I was coming out of retirement. I'm feeling good right now. I just did WrestleMania. I'm a current champion. I'm happy where I'm at, and you just never know, man. You never know. I'm not totally done. Gronk also talked about going to practice hungover if he's going to have a WWE match, and the belief that the Patriots would have done better with a big weapon like himself on the field last year. I am a huge football guy. That is my passion more than professional wrestling. So I will let you touch on the whole WWE thing, and then I can give our fans a little bit of insight into football and what he brings. But what did you think of Gronkowski for WWE and his future going forward? Because as news broke late yesterday, Gronkowski was traded to Tampa. So that means his WWE days are pretty much numbered. So, Damian, what do you think?
Well, again, this is somewhat suspect as well. Think about it. If WrestleMania had happened as it had, and if Gronkowski was the host as he was going to be, and he still was, How perfect would it have been if just after hosting WrestleMania in Tampa, he ended up becoming a Buccaneer? This may have been the plan all along.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Rob Gronkowski, I think, would have had a match at SummerSlam in Boston. I think that was where they were going. The event was supposed to be held in Boston, Massachusetts. I think he would have had a tag match or maybe even a singles, and I think that was the plan. I think Gronkowski now, there is no chance of that event taking place with Gronkowski in it because August is prime time for mini camps and training camps and even preseason. But there's a lot of question. There's a lot of question if even that SummerSlam is going to happen.
Well, there's a lot of question about SummerSlam, but is the NFL schedule preseason, real season, all that, is that going to be preserved? We don't know.
Very true. Rob Gronkowski brings a totally different element to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He and Brady are dynamic together. This brings Brady a different weapon. They have a great head coach in Bruce Arians.
You're talking about Eli Brady, right?
No, Tom, the best quarterback that ever played in the NFL, Brady.
Oh, I thought he had a brother.
Well, I think this is a smart move for them, and I think that they're in a win now mode, especially with trading for Brady and now trading for Rob Gronkowski. And I'm sorry for all you WWE fans who really enjoyed Rob Gronkowski, but I think his days are numbered. Both of them. Yeah. Anonymous WWE employee tells local officials they're being forced to work during the COVID-19 outbreak. It's a long process and a long statement here, but I will get to it. An anonymous WWE employee named John, likely for John Doe, submitted public comments at Tuesday's Orange County, Florida Board of County Commissioners meeting and spoke out against the ongoing WWE tapings from the closed set performance center in Orlando, Florida. Local reporter John Alba noted that a WWE employee named John submitted public comments that they're being forced to work despite the coronavirus stay-at-home orders. John reportedly said he's unable to speak out and feels he will be fired from WWE if he approaches the higher-ups. John also added that despite sanitary precautions at the performance centers, employees are unable to maintain social distancing at the WWE TV tapings, and they have to touch each other. That doesn't seem like it was written correctly, but it is. They've requested the government to shut down the WWE taping so that everyone can follow social distancing rules without fear of losing their jobs, according to Alba's report. Damian, you can go ahead with this one as well.
It only takes one, Andrew. What I mean by that is it only takes one disgruntled employee to say the wrong thing or the right thing to the wrong people or the right people, and then you've got actionable items. And, you're dealing with several entities. It's not just the government, but this guy might go to OSHA and the Occupational Safe and Health Administration, I believe is what that stands for. They could get involved. This could be, a lot of people may not realize this when WWE comes to town, probably over half of their actual quote unquote crew are locals. And I don't know if they're doing the same in Orlando. This could be a contractor. It could be something else. I don't believe in my heart of hearts that WWE is forcing anyone to work, but we've all been part of those conversations, right? Where you're asked to do something and you know that you want to say no, but then you say yes because you think it's the right thing to do for your career and the company, even though you may not personally feel comfortable with it. This could be that situation. This also could be very political. There was a lot of noise outside the wrestling business about the governor of Florida allowing WWE to continue after Linda McMahon bought him off. So this is just as tricky. There's a lot of tricky things going on in the wrestling business right now, and I think this is another one of those things.
Yeah, for me, I have a hard time believing WWE would force anybody to do anything, especially during this whole thing right now. If you look around, AJ Styles is not here. Edge is not here. Kevin Owens is not here. And by here, I mean the WWE and on Monday Night Raw. And I think those people might be uncomfortable. Those talents might be uncomfortable working right now in Orlando at the Performance Center. I think this is the old wrestler mentality, which everyone, still has. And I'm not an old wrestler, but it's if I don't show up, I'm going to lose my spot. Or if I don't do this, I'm going to, get fired. Mm-hmm. I can't see the WWE actually holding anybody hostage here and making them work. I do believe that if this employee is uncomfortable and he or she is very justified to be uncomfortable, they should speak up and say something. I don't think the WWE could terminate you on this. Granted, there's a million and one ways to get rid of an employee, but man, what type of bad PR would that be if somebody went over to higher ups and said, hey, I'm really uncomfortable, and they said, okay, thanks, but no thanks, you're gone? I just can't see it.
Follow the money, Andrew. Amazon, the guy who tried to unionize, the guy who said that they were working under unsafe conditions and due to the COVID-19 situation, they fired him and then buried him publicly shortly thereafter. And now that story went away. Follow the money.
Yeah, I just think WWE's had enough black eyes in this past couple of weeks
Follow
that
the money.
I guess we'll have to see. Speaking of following the money, Nia Jax receives a ton of criticism following her match with Kairi Sane on Monday. During their match on Monday Night Raw, Nia Jax buckle-bombed Kairi Sane in a spot that did not look like it went as planned. Numerous fans and sports journalists, and I use that term very lightly, called her unsafe, reckless.
Oh, you talking about me?
and hypocritical. Nia then took to Twitter to Then Nia took to Twitter to respond and had this to say: "Since Kairi Sane can't say anything about it, maybe Ronda Rousey would like to. Hashtag Samoan for real." This, I love Nia Jax for trying to make a negative into a positive. I think Nia Jax has all the talent in the world. I think she needs to sharpen those skills, and hopefully she does, because she could be a force in WWE or any professional wrestling company. And I think she's doing everything she possibly can to get a match with Ronda Rousey, and that might come to fruition, and I'd be careful what I wish for. Damian?
Thank you for using one of my favorite words in the world, which is fruition. But here's the question we need to ask ourselves. Could the botch have been a work to feed further into this storyline of now Nia Jax and doing what she did on Raw, showing Ronda Rousey, this isn't fake, this is real.
God,
people get hurt, this stuff happens. Maybe we're being worked here into this story that they're developing further. Great. I don't remember the spot. I watched Raw, but I don't recall the spot. So
it was like a botched buckle bomb where she hit the bottom buckle of the top 3 turnbuckles.
Oh, was Seth Rollins or Sting involved?
Yikes.
Just a question. As a journalist, I ask these things.
They were not.
Look, her refusing to apologize to me just sort of feeds into the story, right? It's almost too perfect, too good to be true, that this happened in the way it did. And I would believe that, hey, I'm not a wrestler. I'm not going to purport. I'm not going to try to speculate as to what may have happened inside that squared circle, but it fits quite nicely into the narrative, right?
It sure does. And, I think she's been trying to get a match with Ronda, and I'd pay to see it. Dark Side of the Ring aired last night with Dino Bravo. Damian, I'm not going to talk about that because I know some people haven't seen it. But what I am going to do here with you...
That's their fault.
Say that again?
That's their fault. That was last night. What the hell else are people doing nowadays?
Yeah, right. I mean, there's nothing else to do besides watch TV. But I'm going to touch on the other episodes here, and I want to get your take on them. I don't know if you've seen all of them.
I wanted to talk about Frenchie Martin.
So we kicked off the season with Chris Benoit. It was a 2-parter. And this one, all of these episodes are narrated by Chris Jericho, who has done a fantastic job. I mean, he is the jack of all trades here. But
and they don't make a big deal out of it, which I think is even better.
I think that's done on purpose, though, because there's a lot of things they don't want him to overshadow. And there's also a lot of things that he touches, he speaks and touches on that I don't think maybe he wants, who listening to.
Yeah, or for his name to be attached to it. You're right.
Right. So the Chris Benoit's part 1 and 2 I thought were fantastic. It really gave you an insight to Nancy, her sister, Chris's living son, and there was a lot of nuggets of information here to digest. But for me, it really was tough to watch Nancy's sister and Chris Benoit's son kind of break down at the end, and Chris Jericho hugging him. But fantastic work done here. Anything that stuck out to you in this one?
It's been a great series. Season 1 was great, but it was a sleeper. What I mean by that is not. I don't think it had enough eyes on it as it probably could have. They decided to go a bit more deep into some of the more controversial stories this season, and that obviously is paying off for them. It's been a great show. It's been a great look. I've learned things I didn't know, and I don't know everything, but there's been episodes where it's always refreshing to look at things from the non-WWE revisionist perspective, because as great as the network is and as highly great, how great the production is on those specials that they have on the network, it's always WWE's version of the story. There's no independent review, if you will.
It's highly edited.
Dark Side of the Ring, exactly. They don't go and try to say WWE lied or WWE told you this version. They simply present the facts as they have them, and those facts as they have them are, well, probably closer to the truth, to be honest with you. And you've never heard WWE address the Snuka situation. You've never heard them address the Dino Bravo situation. You've never heard them address the Owen Hart situation, which will be the season finale, I believe, of Dark Side this season. There's a lot of stuff that is really, really compelling to watch and to learn and understand more about. And I wonder, though, how much heat, if you will, some of the people who appear on that show are going to have with WWE. Now, if you're a Jim Cornette, a Vicky Guerrero, a Jim Ross, you're already in that doghouse. So it doesn't matter because you've associated with AEW, or quite frankly, you're just being, if you're Jim Cornette, I think you're always in somebody's doghouse, which is something he thrives on, which I love him for it. But
Cornette has permanent residence in that doghouse.
He built the doghouse. Hell, he pays the third mortgage on the doghouse. Oof. But it's been a great series, and I look forward to it every Tuesday night. And they've done a great job, and I want to see more.
Yeah, they have done a fantastic job. Like Damien said, if you want something that's not a revisionist history rewrite, I think this is fantastic. It really, goes into depth on things that you would never think about. And the people that they have, just like the Brawl for All, I'm not going to even comment on the New Jack episode. That was a train wreck and something
he's clearly he committed attempted murder and was arrested for it on at least 2 occasions of the 3 he did it, and still to this day sits there like a frickin' moron and doesn't care that he almost took people's lives and admits that he did it on purpose and relishes on that fact. No, we won't talk about that.
No, I mean, he Jedi mind tricked somebody into getting out of what he did.
Yeah.
And I guess,
it's sick.
Yeah, it is. And that's the word. It took the words right out of my mouth. I really don't have words. It's a total debacle. And
but again, Andrew, he was allowed to do that by several wrestling promoters, including Paul Heyman. He doesn't bear the blame alone.
Yeah, well, shame on them. But Paul Heyman was trying to make money, and I understand that. But there's a way to make money, and there's a way to get at.
Remember what I said about the
money?
Wrestling business earlier? Yeah. Follow the money, yes, but wrestling, unscrupulous business practices are not a stranger to the business.
Yep, I agree. And then the episode that followed New Jack was the Brawl for All, which when I was watching it, I was like, wow. In 1998, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. But realistically, it was the complete opposite. This was a Vince Russo idea that was basically trying to shut up JBL. And it was also trying to build up Dr. Death Steve Williams, who was going to be a main event contender for Steve Austin's World Heavyweight Championship that never came to fruition because he got knocked out by Bart Gunn, who was in this episode along with Jim Ross, James E. Cornette, and Vince Russo. And The Godfather. And for me, this episode was so eye-opening because it showed how much Bart Gunn took everything that he was given, excelled at it, and was still pushed to nowhere. And he had a match at WrestleMania with Butterbean, got knocked out, and that was it. And it was a shame. But they really tried to focus on Cornette and Russo here and the whole JBL thing. And I would pay to see Cornette and Russo get in a boxing ring for charity.
No, you wouldn't.
I would like to see that.
And they did that last season, by the way. They introduced and perpetuated the Cornette Russo feud, if you will, on Dark Side of the Ring. Here's the thing that was missing from the Brawl for All piece that I wanted to see. And JR, I think, was actually the best and most compelling story told during that because he was there at ringside and then told us a lot of stuff that he probably wasn't able to say in the past. But his promo, one of his many promos, but the one he had specifically with Bart Gunn when he introduced his own JR as Raw broadcast desk at ringside, when he said to Bart Gunn, I think I said Billy, he said to Bart Gunn, "Look at me in the face when I'm talking to you. Show me a little bit of respect, will you? Show me some respect because I want you to look at me in the eye when I do something I have never done in my career, and that slap the hell out of somebody." Quote, unquote.
Yeah, Jim Ross, really, he did steal the show for this Brawl for All. Him and The Godfather, in my opinion.
Yeah, Godfather's just awesome. He's chill. He's great. I've been to the Cheetah Club when he's been managing. He has lived that gimmick before that was a gimmick.
Yeah, you are not lying. Then they went to Jimmy Snuka, which, in my opinion, was another one of these episodes where you just left your jaw on the floor and had to pick it up. Yeah. They talked about the death of Nancy Argentino, and I'm so happy that they actually talked about the other person in this whole attempted murder and his non-conviction and all that other stuff, because there was a family who lost their daughter. There was sisters who lost their loved one. I thought that was great how they actually touched on Nancy Argentino in this whole piece. And there was some gross negligence here, obviously. What did you think of that episode?
Well, how do I do this and protect myself? I'll summarize it this way. Carol Baskin killed her husband.
You going to make a TikTok?
I am not on TikTok. I want to be crystal clear.
Me either.
Not being watched by any other country's government.
Yeah, what is the story with that? Is that factual that what is?
The United States government has forbidden any military personnel from being on TikTok because it's being monitored by, I believe, either the Chinese or the Russian government. Fact. So there you have
from
it.
Somebody who comes from a military household, if the government is not allowing you to be on it, then you should stay off of it. Damien, let's get straight into tonight's episodes of AEW Dynamite and NXT.
We have time for that? I thought we were over. I thought this was 20 minutes or less. Hey, look, all we need to talk about with AEW tonight, because that's the only show that matters. Yes, I'm saying that, is we're going to see Sammy Guevara in action. We're going to see Orange Cassidy in his singles match debut on Dynamite. We're going to see Dustin Rhodes go up against Kip Sabian, and if Dustin loses, he's going to hang up the boots and retire, as we talked about on Primetime on Monday on Fight TV.
Yeah, I do look forward to AEW Dynamite this week, but I'll tell you what, I am very intrigued by Finn Balor versus the Velveteen Dream on the NXT side.
That's going to be great. You're absolutely right. Finn Balor's endorsed, so I understand why you threw that in there, but he and Velveteen, it's going to be a great match. Two very, very similar talents, but two very, very dynamically different talents, which is going to make for great television tonight on the last live NXT for a couple of months.
Yeah, and an appearance by Drake Maverick, who was recently released, and I'm hoping that there's a good showing for him there. But yeah, Velveteen Dream, I think, needs the proper opponents to shine. He is a hell of a hand and a great talent, and I think Finn Balor is that opponent for him. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I think that's all then, Drew, huh? Are we done?
I think so. I think we are out of time.
Where'd you go? You having your coffee there or something? What's going on?
I don't. This is the first time we're doing this whole episode live from Skype, and clearly I don't know if my microphone.
You have hijacked my time. I do a rigorous workout in the morning, and now I only have 5 minutes of my 10-minute workout remaining. Thanks.
I'm giving your body a break. Trust me, it probably needs it during all this stuff. But you can follow Damian Nelson at
my real name, Damian Nelson, on Twitter and everywhere else.
You can follow me at Ticket Drew on Twitter. Facebook and Instagram for PWR is PWR360 now. The Twitter is at PWR360. And the website for all your professional wrestling needs and podcast is www.pwr360.com. Thanks for waking up with us. We look forward to speaking with you tomorrow on PWR Today.